What does a tiny little tap on the shoulder have in common with a massive, catastrophic car crash? It sounds weird, but the answer is physics. It all boils down to two key ideas: momentum and collisions. So let's break down the science of what happens when things run into each other. Okay, here's a question for you. What could a high-speed car crash and a game of pool possibly have in common? The answer, and this might surprise you, is pretty much everything. They're both governed by the exact same laws of physics. And by the end of this, you're going to see exactly how a clean break on a pool table and a messy fender bender are really just two sides of the same coin. So, let's start with the absolute star of the show here, momentum. The simplest way to think about it is just mass in motion. That's it. If an object has some mass and it's moving, then it has momentum. Simple as that. Now, the amount of momentum an object has, well, that depends on just two things: how heavy it is, that's its mass, and how fast it's going, its velocity. This is why a huge bowling ball rolling kind of slowly can have the exact same momentum as a really light baseball that's been thrown super fast. It's all about that combination of mass and velocity. Here's the thing about momentum. An object that has momentum tends to keep that momentum. So, how do you change it? How do you slow something down or speed it up? Well, that brings us to our agent of change, something called impulse. Right. How do you actually stop that moving car or catch a fastball and throw it back? The answer isn't just about applying force. It's actually a combination of force times time. And in physics, we've got a great word for that combination: impulse. Impulse is basically the oomph you need to change something's momentum. It's calculated by taking the average force you apply and multiplying it by how long you apply it for. This means a small, gentle push over a long time can have the exact same impulse as a huge, massive force that's applied for just a split second. And this leads us to a really neat fundamental rule called the impulse-momentum theorem. All it says is that the impulse you deliver to an object is exactly equal to how much its momentum changes. They're one and the same. If you're a visual person, this is a great way to picture it. If you graph the force applied over time, the impulse is literally the total area underneath that line. So a bigger area on the graph means a bigger change in momentum. So what's a real-world example of this? Airbags. This is precisely how they save lives. See, an airbag doesn't reduce the change in your momentum. I mean, you still have to come to a stop from 60 miles an hour. What it does is dramatically increase the time it takes for you to stop. And because of that impulse equation, a longer time means the average force on your body is way, way lower. It's brilliant. Okay, so we can change an object's momentum with an impulse. But what happens when objects just interact with each other, in a collision? It turns out there's this one single rule that, in a closed system, is never, ever broken. It's the law of conservation. This is the big one, the law of conservation of momentum. Now, the official wording sounds a little technical, but the idea is actually super simple. It just means if you look at a whole system, like two cars about to collide or all the balls on a pool table, and no outside forces are messing with it, the total amount of momentum in that system stays exactly the same, always. To put it another way, you add up all the momentum right before a collision, and it will be the exact same as the total momentum right after. Momentum doesn't just disappear. It just gets passed around and redistributed among the objects that collided. Now, while that total momentum is always conserved, we all know that not all collisions look the same, right? A car crash is a lot messier than two billiard balls clicking together. That's because the energy involved can behave really differently, which splits collisions into two main categories. And this is really the key question that separates them. We know momentum is a constant in a collision. But what about the energy of motion, what physicists call kinetic energy? Does that also stay the same? Well, the answer to that question is what defines what kind of collision you're looking at. So here's the breakdown. In both types, elastic and inelastic, momentum is conserved. That's our unbreakable rule, remember? The big difference is what happens to kinetic energy. In a perfectly elastic collision, kinetic energy is also conserved. But in an inelastic collision, it's not. Some of it gets lost. So an elastic collision is kind of like an ideal game of pool, where the balls just bounce off each other perfectly and keep all their motion energy. But a car crash, that's a classic
inelastic collision, all messy and loud. And even more extreme version is what we call a perfectly inelastic collision. And that's when the two objects actually stick together after they hit, like these two carts, and then move as a single unit.
So to sum it up, elastic means both momentum and kinetic energy are conserved. Inelastic means momentum is conserved, but that kinetic energy gets turned into other things, like the sound of the crash, or the heat from bending metal, or the energy it takes to crumple a car's fender. And perfectly inelastic is just the most extreme case of that, where the objects join forces. All right, we have covered all the core concepts. So now let's put it all together and see how these ideas are used to solve actual physics problems in the real world. Check this out. This is a classic setup you see in physics all the time. A pendulum swings down from rest and smacks into a block that's just sitting on a table. Now, to figure out what happens next, you can't just use one of the principles we've discussed. You actually have to break the problem into two distinct parts.
The key is to split it up. First, you look at the pendulum as it swings down. It's falling, so its potential energy is turning into kinetic energy. That, my friends, is a classic conservation of energy problem. But then, for that tiny split second of the actual impact, you switch gears. The crash itself is an inelastic collision, so you use the one unbreakable rule, the law of conservation of momentum. It's a perfect example of knowing which tool to pull out of the physics toolbox for which part of the job.
So there you have it. That's the big picture. Momentum is simply mass in motion. If you want to change it, you need to apply an impulse, which is just a force applied over a period of time. And most importantly, in any isolated collision, the total momentum of everything involved, before and after, stays exactly the same. That's the physics of every single impact. And I'll leave you with a little something to chew on. Momentum isn't just a number, right? It has a direction. It's what we call a vector. So for every single object in the universe moving one way, there could be another object moving the opposite way. So if you could somehow add up the momentums of all the galaxies and stars and planets and tiny particles in the entire universe, is it possible that the grand total would cancel out to be zero? Something to think about.